Today on CityCast Nashville, it's time for our Friday News Roundup. The Tennessee legislative session has officially wrapped just in time for the trial of former House Speaker Glen Casada and his ex-chief of staff, Cade Cothran. I'm joined by our executive producer, Whitney Pasterek, and producer Daniel Sumstein to help make sense of it all. It's Friday, April 25th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Daniel, Whitney, thank you all so much for joining me today.
It's our pleasure.
Stoked to be here.
I want to say when our powers combine, we are just like superheroes. Okay, I know, nerd fest.
The Voltron of local podcasting.
The Captain Planet. Did you guys watch Captain Planet?
That's what I'm referring to, Daniel.
Oh.
Yes.
The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers
Yeah.
of local podcasting.
That's us. And for a lot of Nashvillians, everyone is talking about the fact that the property reappraisals are out and the numbers are quite large. Whitney.
Well, so quick explainer. So the property assessor, Vivian Wilhoit, and her office have spent the past 4 years working on this reappraisal, going around figuring out how much properties have increased in value. And we've now reached the end of that 4-year cycle. So the median property value across Davidson County has gone up 45%. People are freaking out because these values are how they decide how much you owe in property taxes. But people should not be freaking out because under state law, the property tax rate now has to be adjusted to remain revenue neutral because we can't make a crap ton of money because the value of our land has increased, according to the state. But you could still freak out a little bit because it is assumed that Mayor Freddie O'Connell is going to have to raise the property tax rate.
Why? Oh, why? Oh, why?
Why? Oh, why? Well, because a lot of federal money is disappearing, not just because of cuts from the Trump administration, but also like our COVID dollars have run out for the most part. We're having to pump a lot of money into the East Bank for infrastructure that doesn't exist so that they can build a neighborhood at what is now just like an empty slab of concrete. So there's a lot of money going out and just probably not quite enough coming in to make our budget, to meet the demands for all the things that we need. Be prepared, not scared, as Nashville severe weather might say. We're going to know a lot more about this in the months to come. And we're also hoping that Assessor Wilhoit will be on the show soon to talk about all of this and how it works.
Stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, though, there's one building in town that's not afraid to be worth more. Daniel, tell us all about it.
Yeah. So Nashville is gearing up for a major facelift at Bridgestone. The Nashville Predators revealed their plans this week for a $650 million expansion as part of a $1 billion renovation project.
$1 billion. Let's just do all superhero references. And
yeah.
Austin Powers is super. Anyway, wait, Daniel. Daniel, $1 billion. Yes. Who's paying for this?
So thankfully, the money is coming from users of the building and no public funds are involved. Woo! So that's a huge relief to the city. The plans include 2 brand new towers, 175,000 more square feet, and what they're calling the largest rooftop on Broadway. Ooh. So Jason Aldean shaking in his boots right now.
Can Morgan Wallen throw a chair off that balcony?
I mean, probably,
okay,
yeah.
Cool.
They're also turning the current entrance into like an open air plaza with shops and restaurants. So even if you don't have a ticket to the game, you can still soak up the energy and the vibes on game day.
Nice.
I'm just going to say, while they're doing these renovations, they should rename the team while they're at it because the Predators just ain't it.
No. Shh. Don't point that out.
Oh, you like the name? You like Predators?
Well, they're the Preds. I don't know. They're just the Preds. They've always been the Preds, but it is a little bit weird when I was like, I'm going to go see the Predators, and my friends who don't live here are like, the what now?
The what?
I know. Yeah. I love it.
It's a saber-toothed tiger. It's a predator. They found his skull in the ground.
You know, I love dinosaurs. I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was a kid, so...
Many dinosaurs were predators. It's a predator in the Alien versus Predator sense, not a predator in the to catch a. But Daniel, there is something really exciting behind all of this, which we've talked about, and I know you're pumped.
the Preds are future-proofing the arena for a potential WNBA team.
Whoa.
And you all know we had former Metro Council member and Lady Hoops superfan Nancy Van Rees on the podcast last month to talk about Nashville's enthusiasm for a WNBA team. I mean, if this bid goes through, that team would get to play at Bridgestone.
I would go see sports.
You would?
Yeah.
For that. Abso-freaking-lutely. I would definitely be supporting my ladies.
Speaking of stadium news, things are finally happening on Nashville's East Bank. The newly formed East Bank Development Authority laid out a timeline this week for what's coming next around the new Nissan Stadium. It looks like they're going to be adding 2 new apartment buildings and a hotel, both aiming to open by late 2028. It is worth noting that one of those buildings will include 300 to 325 affordable housing units.
Woo!
So that's great news. Whitney, Marie, I know stadiums are one of your favorite things to talk about. What are your guys' thoughts on all this?
I am so excited about the affordable housing that's coming right here out of the gate. And the fact that Nashville's Chief Development Officer, Bob Mendez, former council member, has locked in 99 years of affordability for those units. So assuming somebody eventually puts a grocery store down there, I think it's got real promise.
I'm pumped about Bridgestone renovations because honestly, I think she needs a little update. You know, one of the last times I went there, it was so crowded and people were getting kind of squashed on the escalators.
Well, and one of the things I noticed that they're doing is they're going to make it a lot more, like the walls a lot more glass so that it's an open and airy space. Because, you know, if you've ever walked around like the back side of the bowl,
you feel like you're just in a garage.
You're in a bunker. Yeah. It's so weird.
You're like, is this our city's tornado shelter?
It should be.
Yeah. You didn't mention more parking garages, did you? Did I miss that?
You're going to take public transit, Marie.
I will. I absolutely will. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the fact that the Tennessee legislative session is over.
Bye.
This Mother's Day, if you're fortunate enough to have a great mom in your life, do not forget to call her like I did last year. To make it up to my mom this year, I am showing up with an Aura digital frame fully loaded with adorable photos of, well, me. I picked out the most ridiculous photos I could find, like baby me eating a houseplant or that awkward senior pic where I'm hugging a fence for some reason. After we have a good laugh, I'll show my mom how easy it is to swap out the pictures so she can add in shots of her grandkids too. Aura Frames was named the best digital photo frame by Wirecutter and featured in 495 gift guides last year. I know my mom will love it, and no matter who you give it to, they will too. Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver Mat frame. That's auraframes.com. Promo code CityCast. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
What sort of promises have you made to yourself this year? Getting in better shape, eating healthier, saving more money, traveling somewhere new? What about discovering a new culture by learning a new language? With Babbel, you can do that in just a few weeks. I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast, and I've been learning Spanish with Babbel. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by over 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks or whatever pace you choose. And because conversing is the key to really understanding each other in new languages, Babbel is designed using practical, real-world conversations. The Spanish I learned on Babbel really helped me on a recent trip to Mexico City, ordering in restaurants, shopping at the textile market, cheering on at the Lucha Libre, and I've been keeping it up since I got home. You're a podcast listener. I know that because you're listening here. I bet you'll love Babbel's new podcasts. On Eavesdrop in Espanol, which I listen to, you get to listen to a real conversation, then have the teacher host explain back to you. Then you listen again and catch everything. And you can even read along in the transcript. It's a really fun and effective way to learn. Let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting CityCast listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
And we're back. And like I said, Tennessee legislative session is over. Woo! Yay. It ended this past Tuesday. Guess how many bills they passed?
12. No, that's not right.
That's what it felt like. How many did they actually pass? Well, if you guess 600 bills, you are correct.
Wow.
They passed 600 this year, ranging from the Dismantling DEI Departments Act, which some Democratic lawmakers called racist, as it bans local government and public colleges from considering race, gender, and age in hiring decisions, as well as an anti-trans bathroom bill. We'll be giving you a Spotify-typed wrap-up this coming Monday, April 28th. So please tune in for that. But for now, Whitney, Daniel, any favorite bills of yours that passed this year?
I really like the Foster Care Youth Bill of Rights that passed right at the very end. That was written by a teenager who aged out of the foster program here in Nashville, and she wrote it to guarantee that foster kids have access to education, medical care, and are free to report any abuse without consequences. And also, I love that the bill trying to ban undocumented students from public schools did not pass.
And I want to just shout out all the people that showed up, called our reps. I mean, it really was absolutely amazing.
Got that shut
Made their voices
down.
heard.
Yeah.
Got that shut down. Yep.
I mean, I'm going to sound like an old head here, but there are elements of this school phone ban bill that I like.
Oh, yeah.
Starting July 1st, it's a new law that's going to require all local education authorities to create a policy that bans personal devices such as cell phones, tablets, and laptops from being used in the classroom. Look, I used T9 in my pocket back in high school, just sending those like sneaky text messages. But I have multiple friends who are teachers, and they've told me just how exhausting it is to compete with this like constant pull of technology. We'll see how it actually plays out, but I'm in favor of it.
For sure.
That sounds cool. Yeah.
Okay, Marie, what was your fave?
Well, I had a real close eye on the Voyeurism Victims Act. This is a bill that did receive bipartisan support, and it now expands legal protection for victims of unlawful photography. And this was after a Nashville man was caught filming women he was dating without their consent. Did you hear about this? I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. 8 of his victims were then unable to pursue criminal charges due to the state's statute of limitations, which allows victims just 12 months after the incident to file charges.
Ew.
After the incident.
Ugh.
So anyway, this bill now changes. Victims will now have 1 year after they discover a crime was committed to file the charges.
So if you got filmed 6 months ago and it just showed up and you just figured it out, under the old thing, you would have only had 6 months to file charges. But now you have a year from when you find it.
Right.
That's great, but also like make it more. Why a year?
It's a good question. Well, I'm glad that session is over. I think we all, obviously some good did come out of it, but there are definitely a lot of things that people found harmful. And so, yeah, we're really excited to have Holly on Monday to talk to her about all of that. But now I want to get into a big part of why session is over. And that is the federal corruption trial of former Tennessee House Speaker Glen Casada and his then aide, Cade Cothran, got underway this week with jury selection. For everybody who missed this while it was happening, and I know that it's the two of you, because we tried to talk about it this morning, and you did not get my party foul jokes. So I want to get you caught up on the details here.
Yes, Whitney, let's start here. What are they on trial for?
So let's get in the time machine and go back to 2019.
Is it a hot tub time machine or a regular
Wayne's
time
World
machine?
time machine.
Wayne's World.
Glen Casada is the Speaker of the House. Justin Jones, who is now a state representative and a member of the Tennessee Three, was just an activist, and he was trying to get the bust of former KKK leader Nathan Bedford Forrest out of the Capitol Rotunda.
I was living in New York City, and I was following this news from there.
Okay,
so
amazing.
It made
was
national
a big
headlines.
It was a big story.
Big.
Things got messy. Justin threw a cup of what I believe was iced tea onto Glen Casada while he was in an elevator, and this led to Justin getting arrested. And one of the terms of his bail was to have no contact with Glen Casada after that February 28th arrest date. And then all of a sudden, Casada's aide, Cade Cothran, decided that he would send prosecutors an email from Justin to Casada saying, look, he emailed Casada on March 1st after he wasn't supposed to have any contact with him. But it was a forged date.
Oh my God.
Justin, with the help of Phil Williams, a.k.a.
Woo! Love
Nashville's
Phil.
nosiest bitch. Thank you, John Oliver. He has been Nashville's nosiest bitch for a long time. So Justin and Phil provided evidence that the date on that email was changed and said that he was being framed. Little did Catherine know that his incredibly dumb decision to try to frame Justin Jones would kick off a chain of events that would end in the downfall of his boss, of him, and now this federal corruption trial.
But what does party foul have to do with any of this?
Okay, sorry, I'm getting there. So because while Phil Williams was looking at evidence about changing the date of an email, he also dug up racist and sexist text messages from Catherine to Casada, his boss, in the middle of all of this. And in one of those, Catherine was bragging about taking 60 whole seconds to have sex with a woman in the bathroom of Party Foul on 8th Avenue. Cocaine also may or may not have been involved. So basically, yeah, that's how Party Foul comes in and has become now a running joke.
Oh, 60 seconds.
Needless
Wow.
to say,
Yeah.
please don't ever text me something like that. As your boss, I'm just cool with what you want to do with your life.
Delete.
Delete. Anyway, okay. So, but
Of all places, Party Foul.
There's far better bathrooms.
There's far better. Yeah, it's a
Nashville.
the Hermitage Hotel, those bathrooms are nice. Anyway,
Oh, they're lovely.
I'm reining it in. All of this is not why they're on trial, although it's all part of what led to this. So they're on trial now because after all of that mess, Catherine resigned and he needed money. He was making like $180,000 to be Glen Casada's aide. And now he has no money because he had to resign. So it is now alleged that Casada and Catherine set up a business called Phoenix Solutions, and they hid Catherine's identity as the person running it. And then Casada started kicking back tens of thousands of dollars to Phoenix Solutions to send out mailers for the Republican House caucus and put some money in the pocket of Catherine. There is also a little bit of bribery in here. There was this whole thing where the first time school vouchers came around, they almost failed, like it almost did not pass. But then Casada, who was Speaker of the House at the time, kept the vote open until he convinced someone to flip their vote somehow, question mark. And if you weren't paying attention during this part of the saga in 2021, you missed Phil Williams catching Glen Casada in his bathrobe outside of his condo where the FBI was raiding him. So you're missing sex in the Party Foul bathroom and Glen Casada in a bathrobe. Just basically go to News Channel 5 and just read everything Phil Williams had to do with all of this. Anyway, still staying on task. So prosecutors say that Casada and Catherine conspired together in a scheme involving fraud, bribery, theft, and money laundering, in which they, quote, leveraged elected office for private profit while using lies and concealment as a means to accomplish their criminal goals. And if they're convicted, they're facing 20 years in prison.
Wait, but so they had to rush the end of the legislative session because of this trial. Why was that?
Because something like 20 current legislators are subpoenaed to appear at the trial, including House Majority Leader William Lamberth and Representative Todd Warner, whose house was also raided by the FBI, and former state representative Robin Smith from out in Hamilton County by Chattanooga has already pleaded guilty to her involvement and is expected to turn G and testify against Casada and Catherine. Defense attorneys are also accusing current House Speaker Cameron Sexton of wearing a wire during this entire debacle in order to feed information to prosecutors. And that certainly makes sense if you consider that right after the House tossed Casada out from the speaker seat in the wake of all of this, Cameron Sexton got to sit in the fancy big chair.
But what happens now?
I mean, you just spilled some serious tea dating back to Justin Jones spilling the tea.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I did, Daniel. Okay, so what happens now, Marie? Many shoes will drop. Remember our laundry basket of shoes from last week's episode? We've now got some additional laundry baskets of shoes that someone's about to throw down a flight of stairs. Casada, interestingly, declined a plea deal. So maybe he's hoping to get some flies on Sexton and his other former fellow legislators in the midst of all of this. Like, is stuff going to come out when they're on the witness stand. I don't know, like why Casada wouldn't accept a plea deal. It has to be just for revenge, I'm guessing. So pop some popcorn. That's all I'm saying. Just pop some popcorn. So they finished jury selection earlier in the week. Opening arguments started yesterday. It's going to go on for weeks. This is not like Judge Judy is not deciding this in half an hour. A lot is going to come out. So my advice to everybody at home is if this soap opera is interesting to you, Phil Williams is your guy.
Oh, well, thank you for giving us the rundown, Whitney.
It's my pleasure. It's one of my favorite things that has ever happened in this city. And going back down that rabbit hole was like reading an old high school yearbook. I just have the warm fuzzies.
I'm just not surprised about any of this because
Right.
when it comes to politics, I'm always just completely shocked at the stories that are happening behind closed doors.
That's just politics, baby.
Is that
But
politics?
it doesn't have to be. This is what
It
makes
doesn't
it so
have
insane.
to be, but it always seems to be.
It's insane.
But you should stay tuned in because then you get things like the Speaker of the House wearing his bathrobe outside of a condo in Franklin. And who doesn't love that?
Right. Exactly. Love it.
We don't need telenovelas. We have the American political system.
Well, speaking of criminal justice, the Tennessee Board of Parole on Tuesday recommended a pardon of our beloved country music singer, Jelly Roll.
Aw.
He's still on parole. So they're asking Governor Bill Lee to pardon him. And they're making the case is that Jelly Roll has shared this message of redemption for so long, and he wants to now do it worldwide. In 2022, I just want to say, I think this is amazing. Jelly Roll donated $250,000 to build a recording studio at the Davidson County Juvenile Detention Center, where he spent a lot of time. And he's obviously been very vocal about his experience in the system and how important it is to him that kids know there's hope for them even after they've gotten in trouble. Just looking back at what he was convicted of, it seems like his most serious convictions were robbery at 17 and drug charges at 23. Lee has stated that every case seeking clemency, such as pardons, is equally important and goes through a thorough process. But is he potentially getting a pardon just because he's famous? Would I receive a pardon as host of CityCast Nashville?
I mean, let's go back to Morgan Wallen. If any one of us had thrown a chair off a roof on Broadway and almost hit a cop, would we be on this podcast right now?
I saw Jelly Roll at Bridgestone, and he brought out Snoop Dogg, who was like smoking a joint. And I just had this moment of like, yeah, it's okay for Snoop Dogg to smoke weed at Bridgestone, but meanwhile, it's completely illegal in this state.
There's also two systems of justice for white male legislators.
Well, how about we take a break, Whitney, and when we return, we'll end this show with some good news.
Good news.
Hey, CityCast. According to me and my calculator, you will spend more time this week between the sheets than you will at work. So upgrade your sheets to Cozy Earth. Luxury starts where you rest. I start my evening in buttery soft Cozy Earth bamboo pajamas. Then I dip into a Cozy Earth bamboo sheet set. They are silky and temperature regulating. Forget the 9 to 5. Prioritize your 5 to 9. Cozy Earth products will transform those hours into a sanctuary. And they take comfort seriously with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. Luxury should not be out of reach. So Cozy Earth is giving CityCast listeners 40% off their best-selling sheets, towels, pajamas, and more. Visit CozyEarth.com and use the code COZYNashville for 40% off because you deserve a great night's sleep and sanctuary awaits at Cozy Earth.
Dun-dun-dun-dun. I can't do it.
No,
we can't.
But you tried.
All right, we're back. And it's not potpourri time.
These flowers are alive. Is it a bouquet?
It is a bouquet. It's not dried up flowers of headlines. These are all
yay.
happy flowers, happy headlines. Did you know that Centennial Park was named the top 5 city park by USA Today's 10 Best Readers' Choice Awards?
Yay!
Look at us, putting us on the map. Have you visited any of these other parks?
Why, yes, Marie, I'm so glad you asked. I have. These are not the expected parks. You know, I sort of thought like Central Park. But shout out at number 6, Discovery Green in Houston, Texas.
Well, I was quite shocked to see that number 1 was Bonnet Springs Park in Lakeland, Florida, which looks beautiful, 168 acres of urban oasis. But gosh darn it, like during the summertime, going to a park in Florida. Woo!
Well, but see,
That would be
I
hot.
think these were picked by readers. So this just maybe means that a lot of people in Lakeland, Florida read USA Today.
USA Today.
But
You
also
may be
enough
right,
people
Whitney.
in Nashville read USA Today because the Tennessean's a Gannett paper, which is also USA Today. So that makes sense. But congrats to everybody who participated in ensuring that Centennial Park came in at number 5. I know your favorite place is the Taylor Swift bench, Marie.
I've actually never been because I don't want to wait in line.
Hold on, time out. You have to wait in line for a bench?
Oh, the Swifties come and take pictures of the bench.
Madness.
Whitney, come on. I don't do that.
If you're hoping to go out this weekend and visit Centennial Park to celebrate its prominence, please be aware it's the marathon tomorrow, the St. Jude Rock and Roll
Whoa.
Marathon, raising money for the amazing babies out at St. Jude, one of the causes that's nearest and dearest to my heart. The marathon and half marathon course does a real number on downtown, Music Row, Belmont 12 South, the Gulch, and then once the marathon continues in East Nashville, it's going to be between like 5 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. And as people, finish running, obviously they'll reopen the streets. But this happens to people every year. Every year people forget that it's marathon. They're like, oh, I'll go to the farmer's market.
year.
You are not going to the farmer's market tomorrow. I love you so much, people, but you're not going to get there.
I love cheering on marathon runners. It brings me so much joy.
Yes.
I highly recommend people just going out and cheering for people and, and crying because it's so inspirational.
If you want to join me, I will be at Nashville Running Company on Woodland Street. We've had Lee from Nashville Running Company on the podcast before. He runs an unsanctioned water stop. Another place you want to keep the road closures in mind for tomorrow is also Independent Bookstore Day. So get out there and support your favorite indie store like Parnassus or the Bookshop. You should be able to get to Parnassus if you just go around. The marathon doesn't go all the way out to Green Hills.
Awesome. And then one last thing, we also want to send our best wishes to Khalil Akalona, the host of This Is Nashville, who hosted his final program this week and is moving on to a brand new adventure, which we cannot wait to see what that is.
We've had Khalil on the show, and he's wonderful, and we will miss him.
And then also this week brought the news that the Tennessean opinion and engagement editor, David Plazas, is leaving to take a job in Atlanta, which that's a huge bummer, too. I've always really liked him. And I caught wind that guess who was in town this week? Mr. Ed Sheeran.
I love that it's like we're losing Khalil and David Plazas, but we're getting Ed Sheeran in the exchange somehow.
Yeah.
Like Thanos has snapped his fingers to continue the
Fine,
superhero.
these two wonderful, diverse men are leaving. How about Ed Sheeran? There you
Well,
go.
he's been at Tootsie's.
That's right. He was
Yeah.
spotted at Tootsie's. And then this week there was, I guess, people got like a secret text message. I'm not entirely sure how this went down, but it was like super fans were invited. Noah Kahan was there too. And it was at Santa's Pub.
Oh,
and
that's
they played like a
fun.
really
Yeah.
small, private concert.
If I cared at all about Ed Sheeran, that would have been
Right.
really awesome.
I love Ed Sheeran.
Leprechaun.
I named my cat after him.
oh my
Wait, did
gosh,
you
Daniel,
really?
You surprised me all the time.
Our cat's name is Ed Sheeran.
Oh my God.
He's a little ginger kitty. I'm going to be that guy. Back to our toxic traits. He's 13 now. I was on the Ed Sheeran train early. That's one of my toxic traits is that I brag about being on the Ed Sheeran train early. Not that that matters to anything, but
Well, one thing I learned about Ed Sheeran is that on his own property in England, he has built his own pub so he can serve his favorite beers and entertain his friends, which we have our own pub, sort of. CityCast Nashville has our own sort of pub with Fridays by the River, which is tonight.
Is it, though?
That's right.
Is it tonight?
It may get rained
Yeah.
out. We don't know.
We don't know. Keep an
We're
eye
not-
on the East Nashville Beer Works socials, but my guess is
It may be rained
It's not
out.
looking great.
Okay, well, if it's not, the band Xennials is performing this evening, which is Anthony Davis's. Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yes.
Anthony Davis's 90s alt rock cover band.
he
is
sings
performing.
lead. It's great.
Food trucks are Mag Mile Pizza, the Mac Shack, Lady Dogs, Tacos by Tam, and King of Pops. So come on out.
If it doesn't get canceled.
Hopefully.
It was so packed last week.
It was so packed. We're loving seeing everybody. And we just, on behalf of our friends at East Nashville Beer Works and Friends of Shelby, we just want to remind everybody, cups are compostable. Also, I'm assuming somebody is still missing their Volkswagen car keys.
Oh no, Whitney found these keys and nobody claimed them. So anyway, yes, if you've lost a pair of keys to a Volkswagen, you can email us at nashville@citycast.fm. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson. Our executive producer is Whitney Pasterek. Our producer is Daniel Sumstein. Our Hey Nashville newsletter editor is Margaret Kingsbury, and our theme music is by Prof Jenkins, with additional music by Laser Drops by Hip Color, Suncatcher by Wendy Marcini, and Shine by DM, all from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!